What a Week 18. Also, a little thing I like to call the national championship. Frogs and dogs. Let's go around that horn. I do love the sound of frogs and dogs.
The underfrogs.
Aaron Rodgers walking off the field, realizing the Packers blew an incredible opportunity. The home loss to Detroit to miss the playoffs. Seeing him look like that, let's start here. The vibration you got, Frank Isola, did it feel like this was the end for him? And how much was this lost season and game on Rodgers?
Well, I think in that moment, I think he's contemplating, do I really want to do this again? But there's a lot of money at stake. He still has a lot of football left. I think when he gets weeks, months away from this, and he loves this drama, it happens every year with him. Is he going to play? Is he going to play for the Packers? I think ultimately he'll come back. He did not have a great year, but Aaron Rodgers and the Packers played really well over their last 5 or 6 games. They left themselves no margin for error. They needed to win their final 5 games, and it came down to the last week of the season, and they blew this at the end of the first half with that fumble when they were up 9-3 with the clock. They should have gone into the locker room up 12-3. Instead, it was 6-3 going into the second half.
George Sedano.
Tony, I go back to last offseason where he started contemplating retirement. I'm a big believer that once you start going down that path, it's hard to kind of put the toothpaste back in the tube there. And when he's doing that openly again, still kind of contemplating his future, whether it's with the team specifically or in general at yesterday's press conference, I think that we're just going further down that path. Now, in regards to his play, he was asked a question by a longtime columnist and reporter there in the Milwaukee area, and he was very kind, Aaron was, about the way that the question would be perceived, because the guy said, look, I don't mean to be a jerk here, but your play was kind of subpar to your standards. And he said, look, I understand it. There's no issues here. And if you look at it, it has been substandard. It's the worst season of his career from a yards per game standpoint, 217, worst in his career as far as QBR is concerned, since we've been keeping that stat, and tied for the most turnovers in his career as well. And that's not even including the fourth quarter, Tony, where in one-score games, a 54% completion percentage? That's not Aaron Rodgers. That is normally Aaron Rodgers' time. And this seems like a guy who, whether he's contemplating it or not, Father Time is creeping up regardless.
David Dennis Jr. on Green Bay's season-ending loss.
Enough of this performative Aaron Rodgers stuff at the end of every season. I want to hold on to my jersey, going off in the sunset with Randall Cobb, his haikus after the game about will I, won't I, and my future. That seems like a guy who wants us to talk about him maybe retiring and not wanting us to talk about the fact that he stunk last night and that the Packers are 1-6 in the red zone against the Lions this season. And if they were better, they'd be in the playoffs. Ooh. He had 5 games this season where he had 1 touchdown or fewer, and that's what we need to focus on, the fact that if Aaron Rodgers plays better against the team that has been a bottom dweller in their division at home, then they are in the playoffs, and he's not dealing with another embarrassing loss in Lambeau.
Woo! Some heat from David Dennis Jr. and Kevin Blackistone. Admittedly, the season's over. There are time for haikus and frustration and wonderings. Where are you on Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I'll say 2 things. One, I'll just remind everyone that, yeah, you can talk about retirement, and yeah, you can put that toothpaste back in the tube, because we just saw Tom Brady do that very thing. And the other thing we have to talk about is the number 60, because Aaron Rodgers is due $60 million basically if he plays in 2023. I cannot see him at all, no matter how horrible last night was, and the fact he's not going to be in the playoffs, and the fact that maybe his buddies won't even be around, like Randall Cobb, that he will not come back and ingratiate his checkbook with $60 million. He will play it again. And not only that, remember, he's played the rest of us the contrarian game for the last couple of years, right? He's gone. If we say go left, he's going right. So this is another case of that.
Well, maybe it's true. There's so much heat, though, directed at why did things end badly? Because they ended. They ended like that, you know, with a loss to Detroit at
Lambeau.
home. At Lambeau Field. Lions, by the way, sticking it to Green Bay. But they don't go to the playoffs because the Seahawks squeezed through in the Sunday afternoon slot. Seattle beat Detroit in Week 4, which was a wild game, and that.
The market can look scary. These days, you might be thinking, I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But chew on this. After every dip in history, the stock market has come back even stronger. See? Dip, stronger. Dip, stronger. Huh? Now, history doesn't always repeat, but you be the judge. Download Acorns. Start investing your spare change and give your money a chance to grow. Acorns. Grow your oak.
That's what does it. Right now, does it feel like the best team got the 7th spot, though? That's my question, Frank Isola.
Oh, I think they did. I think Pete Carroll did a terrific job, and Geno Smith, an outstanding story for a guy that was, got elevated to the starter once they traded Russell Wilson. But I'll say this on behalf of the Lions. Would I rather see the Lions there? The team is fun to watch. They seem like they're a together group. Dan Campbell's always gambling. That is a fun team, but Seattle definitely earned their spot.
George Sedano.
Tony, the body of work says Seattle is the best team and they got in, but the hottest team is absolutely the Lions, and we've seen in recent history especially that hottest team tends to make some noise in the postseason. We saw the Bengals last year. I mean, I'm not saying the Lions would have won the Super Bowl, but we saw the Giants certainly do that a number of years ago as well. And look, a lot of credit to Dan Campbell, as Frank mentioned, and Jared Goff. Jared Goff